Hey, greetings everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Plan B Success. Of late, I've been involved in a few conversations about our younger selves, things that we have learned over the years, what we know now, and if we had known it earlier, how things would have been different. I've been in conversations with people in person as well as on social media where we talked about it, where people reflect on their younger selves and say, hey, if I knew these 10 things, I just wish I had done it sooner in my life and my life would be different now. I believe that the worst thing that can happen to you in your life is when you look back, you look at something and regret it. I think if at all we want to call ourselves successful, fulfilled and happy, that's the one thing that we have to avoid. Like whatever life throws at us, as it comes, we have to experience it, learn from it, and move forward and ensure that we don't repeat a mistake that we have done in the past. But we should never be looking back and saying, I wish I hadn't done that, or I wish I did not make that mistake, because at that point in time, you did not know better, you made the mistake. But now's the time to learn from it and make sure you don't repeat it. So when we look back at life, we should not be looking back and saying, gosh, I wish I had done all these things back then so that I would have been at a different point now. At least I don't believe that's true. And I'm going to take you down a journey when I was about 22 years old and what I felt about it. And like I said, when I look back at my 22-year-old self, I won't change a thing. The hits, the bruises, and all. The only thing I would reiterate is never hold regrets. Conduct your life in such a way that when you look back, you don't regret a thing. And that, I think, is the key to happiness and a fulfilling life. Having said that, let's look back at my own story. I remember when I was younger, I used to think time passed ever so slowly. And as we age, I feel it just passes by so quickly. And I don't know the reason for that, but I strongly believe it's perhaps because we keep ourselves so busy, engaged in so many different pursuits as we grow older that we feel time just flies by. But when we were young, we had time to learn, time to experiment, and enjoy our leisure. As a result, time seemed to move so slowly because you were so engrossed in learning and enjoying yourself in the process. And when I look back at my 20s, I think they were a great period of time. Obviously, there were things that I did, I'm proud of, and there are things that I'm not so proud of, but I wouldn't change a thing. I was actually pursuing my double masters at that point in time. Obviously, I was working very hard and also playing hard. I was like a sponge, basically absorbing anything and everything that came my way. I was happy studying at a great university, learning every single day, and I enjoyed the adventure of living in a new city all by myself. It was a time for exploration in my life, at school as well as out in the world as I was venturing out to strike out on my own. And I remember it was probably in the second year of my MBA, and while I was working to get my MBA, I chose the less trodden path. While my friends pursued studies diligently and were looking forward to get that next coveted job at the great MNC that was out there, I decided to go down the path of direct sales. I was enamored by this company that was into direct sales that just established in India, a Canadian company, and was looking at introducing direct sales of consumer durables. And they had their own way of doing it, things around the rah-rah effect, motivation, and things like those. I was enamored by it and I wanted to try my hand at it. The commission was handsome and I would be able to earn enough to be self-sufficient. But I didn't join for the money. I just joined for the promise of a brighter future and the promise of adventure. It was a pyramid concept where you went in, you learned direct sales, you built a team, and then you trained your team and consistently generated enough sales over a certain period of time before you struck it out on your own. And then, after you struck it out on your own, you had the opportunity to proliferate your network and make residual income on them as you opened up other locations with your team members. I must tell you, it was enticing enough to make me work full-time when I had started, assuming it would be a good part-time gig. I was always a good student, so my studies didn't suffer much, and I remember that very first day I went out by myself to make some sales after the previous day of training with my trainer. I picked up the bag, pretty heavy, went door to door for about probably 4 hours until noon, And I remember I must have knocked close to 100 doors, not a single sale. I'd experienced people who just slammed the door in my face, frustrated people who just shooed me away, and not so pleasant smirks from many unobliging customers. At that point in time, I remember that going door to door was kind of looked down upon. Especially, even my peers were looking down upon it from the standpoint of saying, hey, you're doing your master's, MBA, you could get a good job, why are you doing this? And I just wanted to do that for the thrill of it, the adventure of it, and I don't think I got a better training on the ground than that ever after. So that was it. As I started getting shooed away and faced all my negatives, all my no's every time I tried to pitch, I was broken, and I returned to the office dragging my bag behind me. My trainer, whom I had shadowed for the last couple of days, came over, listened to me patiently as I vented. I was angry, I was unhappy, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. I thought I deserved better. My trainer explained the law of averages to me and said that in order to get 30 yeses, you need to learn to go through, 300 knocks and 270 no's. He taught me how to take in each no, absorb it, and make your pitch a little bit better with every no you get. Your demeanor a bit more pleasant, and your resolve a bit more stronger. After that, he gave me two choices. He said, either I could walk away from all of this and he would consider me history, or I could go out there and work it one more time and put into action what he said. At the most, I would be a tired guy by the end of the day, but the law of averages had to work. I mulled over it for several moments, had a glass of water, and stepped out to try one last time. I went back to the area I was working in. I was curious to try this law of averages that he talked about and worked through that neighborhood for the next 4 hours. I kept knocking and knocking and knocking doors, became thick-skinned to all the negatives, and just kept going. By the end of that day, I had sold probably about 10 pieces. That changed my entire outlook towards struggle and achievement. I went on to build a team, opened up my own location, started my own direct marketing company at a later point in life, opened up several locations, and became very successful in that field before I divested. But when I look back at this, I won't change a thing about when I was in my 20s. And my advice to you is seek your own adventure and blaze your own path to triumph. One piece of advice: never ever give up. It may come to you late, but it sure will. So that's why I say, whatever it is that life throws at you, you're in a unique position. It's your life. There's nobody else out there like you, and life put you in a unique position. You can aspire and get inspired by other people who've been successful and look up to them. But you don't want their journey, you want your own journey. Get inspired by these other people so that you learn from them and take action where you can go in the direction that you want to after you've learned from the people that you're inspired by. At the same time, as you learn things, there's no point in regretting that I wish I knew this 10 years sooner. I would have been in a different place. You were in the right place back then, you're in the right place right now. And that's what the journey of life is all about, right? No kid is ever going to say, I wish I grow up immediately to be in my 20s or 40s. They may wish for it, but it's never going to come true. The reason being, there is a certain journey that life has to take you through, and you have to go through it. Might as well understand it, might as well agree with it, might as well enjoy the journey as you move along and make progress. So you were in the right spot when you were young. You're in the right spot right now. You will be in the right spot several years from now. But wherever you are, make sure you thoroughly enjoy your journey. Make sure you try things out so that when you look back from wherever you are in your present time and you look at your past, you don't regret anything. That's the one thing I caution you about. Make sure that you take actions in such a manner that you never ever regret anything. And as long as you don't regret anything, it's a life well lived. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Please make sure you subscribe. Please make sure you leave a review. And please make sure you spread the word. Let others know about it so they might benefit from this content as well. You can listen to Plan B Success Podcast on your favorite podcasting platform or at planb.life. Thank you.